Told you I felt so miserable, and he kept effing me over. And I felt like, you know what? Someone is into me, he's giving me attention, I'm going to take it. But I never had any intentions on it going any further. If you understand, choke slammed me, beat me up when I was 2 months pregnant. A couple of weeks after I found out, maybe not even a couple of weeks, right after I found out I was pregnant, we got into it. He crashed my car. And he did a hit and run, and we weren't getting along. It was already toxic, and he choke slammed me, and that all went left because I ended up having him beat up, and I believe he held that against me the rest of our relationship. I jumped on him. I actually started hitting him because I'm like, I dare you. Like, my parents are downstairs, the kids are in the house, my nephew is in the house, my sister is down there dying. And you want to accuse me of something I'm not even doing, and this is not the time. Even if I was doing it, like, this is not the time. After my sister passing, it was never the same. I didn't look at him the same, but I was trying. I still had in the back of my mind a hope that we could fix it. So we went back to counseling, and then come to find out, we went on vacation for my 40th birthday, and right after that, I caught him in one of our company trucks with a
What's
woman.
up, everybody? My name is Mel, and welcome to Life Coaching by Mel. Here at Life Coaching by Mel, we speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And if you're new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get each and every one of my videos. Hit that like button for me. Hit me in that comment section. Today is going to be an invigorating conversation that I know you want to contribute to, and be sure to share this with at least one person. Let's get into today's topic. On today's episode, we sit down with a new buddy of mine by the name of Katt. Katt is a TikToker just like myself. She's sharing her story to the world, and today she does me the honor of sitting down with me. Let's have this conversation. Katt, how's everything with you?
How you doing? I'm doing well.
Oh, thank you.
Doing
Thank
good,
you.
doing good. I'm a little sick, y'all, but I'm gonna try to get through it.
Well, it's all good. You're sounding great, and we're going to have a great conversation today. Now, Katt, I went through each of your series. You got the series going on, telling us
Yes.
your story of your divorce from a narcissist. I just want to start out by asking what inspired you to begin to share your story?
Well, yeah, I was just going through a lot. I was going through a lot, and I felt alone. I do have a good friend that I talk to a lot, but I still just felt like I needed to get it out. I felt like I was holding a lot in, and I needed to get it out. And I felt like it was people who could benefit from my experiences.
Yeah. Now we use this term narcissist very often. You know, it's a very hot term nowadays.
Hmm.
Hope that 2025 brings us a new day where not too many people using it. Just my opinion. I'm just joking around with that. But why do you deem him to be a narcissist in a nutshell?
I actually didn't know much about narcissism or narcissists. I was looking at a video on another social platform, and it started talking about narcissism.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, he does that. He does that. He does that. Like, so it started connecting, and that's when I realized, like, I may be married to a narcissist.
Hmm.
And then I started researching it more, and he's not diagnosed, but
Right.
I call him a narcissist.
I get it. I get it. And so let's go here. And I want to know because it's a long journey for what you guys are processing and going through. You're currently in the midst of a divorce, but I want to ask you. Let's go towards the beginning there because I know everything wasn't always bad. How did you guys come to be, and tell us about a little bit about the engagement and how you guys became married.
So we met when I was 20. I had just turned 26, and this was actually the red flags from the beginning. I had just turned 26 in August. We met in November. I was working as a security guard, and I was studying to try to get into nursing school. So one day I was working actually in his building where he lived at back in Jersey. So he came to me one day. I was just mumbling and singing, and he was like, "You have a beautiful voice." And we started talking. He was like, "How old are you?" I was like, 26, and I'm like, "How old are you?" He was like, "Oh, I'm 26 too." And we started talking. We exchanged numbers, and come to find out, he wasn't 26. He was 22, but I didn't find out till later on.
Oh wow.
Um, Yeah, he also lied about a lot of other things that he was on vacation. He was taking vacation from his job because it was the end of the year. He needed to use up his time. Kind of find out he didn't have a job. He didn't have a car. He told me his car got stolen. So that was the red flags. That was the
Right.
red flags. But anyway, we still had like this kind of connection I felt. And I was having so much fun with him. We was hanging out and I was like, oh, you know what, forget the red flags. You know what I'm saying? Because we was having some fun.
Right.
So then, I ended up getting pregnant. A lot of stuff happened in between there. It's just too much to talk about.
Yeah.
It is in my book though, but a lot of things happened in between that. After our second child, he asked to marry me. That was like 6.5 years in.
Hmm. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And you just said it there. I don't want to go too far before we get beyond that. Tell us about the book and when can we expect it?
So the book is called, I'm not going to tell you what the book is called.
Oh,
Not right now,
secret.
but my book release is March 17th, the day my sister passed away.
Hmm.
Yes.
And we'll
Fingers
get.
crossed because I'm still going through a lot with the company.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I heard that publishing thing could be a grueling process for sure. But I want to ask you. So you mentioned the red flags. You said it's a little bit too much to get into, and I get that. You start to see a pattern. Of you started out with a lie. That's a difficult thing to see. Uh, Someone start out about the smallest thing, which is your age, and he may have just been trying to get to you. Once he heard your age, sometimes men we just mirror what we see from a woman to make sure we capture what we want. But but you start to see that type of lie early on, and then you start to see other things, red flags. What was it about him and his character that said, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and give him a shot"?
Um, like I said, we used to have a lot of fun together. We hung out anytime I wasn't working. We were hanging out. Obviously, our sex life was like rabbits, and
That normally does a trick, huh?
he's a cook. He
Oh,
cooked,
nice.
and he always cooked. Well, he's not actually a chef, but he cooks. Um, and he cooked for me all the time. I really didn't have to cook much, so I really loved that. And like we really had a connection. It's just he had his own personal things going on.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, because typically women, when they date someone, especially someone who the sex is great, and we're on each other like rabbits. They typically have like a fantasy with this guy. Maybe he reminds them of a celebrity or such. That may not be the case for you, but if you had to just to give us a mindset or a picture of who he was at that time for you, if there was like a celebrity or a TV character that he reminded you of during that time, what would that be, or who would that be?
Um, I would say he was like a usher.
Now we talking about today, Usher, or you make me want to Usher?
No, the back in the day usher.
So you thought he was fine, huh? So you was able to
Yeah,
look over.
he's definitely eye candy, or what he was at that time for me.
Got you, got you. Okay. So let's move forward. You guys go ahead and get married, and you have your first child. How was the married life, in the early years?
Well, we were together for almost 15 years before we separated last year. We had our first child the year after we met, and it wasn't good. But it was up and down. It was up and down. Me, I was trying to leave him actually when I found out I was pregnant. Once I found out I was pregnant, I was like, you know what, we're gonna make this work. But um, a lot of people ask me like, why did you stay? And I wanted to raise my child. I knew I always wanted that. I wanted to raise my child with both parents. So I'm like, well, whatever we got to do, we're gonna make it work. As long as he's not trying to leave me, I'm not gonna leave him. So
Yeah. Now, when you
we had
say,
it.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, when you say things, had some issues there, was there a level of like toxicity to that point, or was it like abuse, things of that nature, or what are we looking at here?
Yes, it was a lot of toxicity, a lot of abuse. He choke slammed me, beat me up. when I was 2 months pregnant. A couple of weeks after I found out, maybe not even a couple of weeks, right after I found out I was pregnant, we got into it. He crashed my car. He did a hit and run, and we weren't getting along. It was already toxic, and he choke slammed me, and that all went left because I ended up having him beat up, and I believe he held that against me the rest of our relationship. He made me suffer for that, and he never let it go.
Now, I gotta say this for the audience, and I'm so. First of all, let me say this. I'm sorry. I really am sorry that you went through that, and
Mm.
but I do want to say this, and just to bring a little levity to it. You from Jersey, and I just know I ain't heard. I don't know a lot about Jersey people, but I do know women in Jersey don't play. That's one thing I've heard. How true is that?
Well, by the time he met me, I had already calmed down in my life. Like I had already done a lot. Like I was in a motorcycle club. I was in the streets before I met him. So by the time I met him when I turned 26, I was ready to settle down,
Gotcha.
And I really didn't. I could have had, did more than what I had done to him, but I was pregnant by him, so
No doubt.
you
And
know.
don't get me wrong. I'm not saying when I say don't play, I mean you're able to protect yourself. And
Hmm.
if a guy were to go to that level, you have means of retaliation, which it sounds like you executed with the
Hmm.
with the gentleman jumping him. But let's ask this. Now, I appreciate everything you're sharing so far.
Hmm.
We go transition to probably the toughest, one of the toughest moments, I would say, probably for your life, having to face someone you're very close to get a terminal illness. Uh, Tell the audience about that, and just and how this led to such a harsh time for your marriage.
So we were going through a lot. I had started a trucking company for him because when we moved down to South Carolina in 2019, he wasn't working. So I started traveling as a nurse and I was paying all the bills, making all the money. And I'm just like, I also had illness. Well, I still do have illness, but I was really sick at the time, like, and I'm just like, I need some relief. So I started researching how to start a trucking company. Started the trucking company for him. That it was a lot to talk about that in itself. But after I started the trucking company, um, things really went downhill between us. It was like he wanted to be the boss, but he didn't want to do the work. And we were constantly arguing and fighting. I couldn't understand because I'm like, I did this for you. You know what I'm saying? So it was very, very toxic between us. And we were constantly fighting and arguing back and forth in court, domestic violence. He kept getting locked up. I kept putting restraining orders and taking it off, taking him back. So it was really toxic. And during that time, I found out that my sister was dying from cancer. And it happened so quick because she was working two jobs. She was living a normal life. We were all going on about our daily lives or whatever. And then she just started feeling pain back in 21 of December. So she went to the ER. They did a biopsy because they saw a mass when she went to the ER. They did a biopsy in the ER, and on January 3rd of 22, they called and told her that she had cancer. And it all spiraled really quick from after that. So I was traveling and working locally and running a trucking company. So I'm telling him like, I need you to like help me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
my sister is sick. I need you to help me with the kids. I really need your help now. So he's just like he didn't care, and um, it got really bad. It really did.
Yeah. And so sorry about that there. And I said this even in my response video I did on your video. It's really like curious to me that a man wouldn't say something empathetic or try to be there and step up in the moment. So what type of things was he saying to you along the way when you were looking for his support?
So he was too into himself to worry about what was going on with my sister. Like when I told him, he'll just be like, he'll be quiet or he'll listen to me, and he'll be like, "Oh, okay." And that was his response.
Now was
Everything was about him.
right. Yeah. Was that a normal reaction to things that he would do?
Yeah, but in this case, I thought that he would have gave me more grace.
Yeah,
because of the situation.
true. Now, you mentioned in one of your videos, he started to accuse you of things while you're in the midst of, treating your sister and trying to get things prepared for her transition. He started to accuse you of infidelity. Tell us a little bit about that.
So back in 2021, around October, so I just told you that we were going through a lot of things. I will tell you some of the things that we were going through. So
Okay.
he would, I'll book loads for him. He'll get mad because I didn't take enough money for the load. We'll get in an argument and he'll pick the load up and then he'll drop it. He'll drop it at a random place in a random parking lot at a random truck stop and say, "You go find someone else to move it."
Oh wow.
So, all of my drivers will be on loads. I couldn't find no one to move the load. And like this was like constantly going on. Like we were just constantly in a battle. So while I was working at one of my jobs, a local job, it was this doctor that I used to talk to via text. And a lot of times we're texting about patients. Like I'm on the floor, I need him to order something or I need permission for something. That was what most of the texts were about. But he was flirting with me, and I left it open on purpose. Like I'm telling you the truth. I left it open because I wanted him to see, like, let me straighten up. It's somebody out there that like my wife. And it was childish. It was immature. I shouldn't have did it, but I'm just telling you what I did. So yeah, so that turned into something else. He just couldn't stand it. When he saw the text messages, he was like, "I want you to stop talking to him now." And I'm like, "Well, I can't stop talking to him, like I that we work together." He started accusing me of having sex with him, and it went on and on and on. So by the time when everything happened with my sister, she went downhill, and I ended up bringing her home to my house on hospice in February. Um, it went downhill from there, and that's what you see in the video when I went upstairs and he was sitting on the bed and he's like, "Oh, you're still talking to the doctor," and all of this, and I ended up getting arrested that night.
It's massive. That's massive.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna get into that rest here in a second. But I want to ask you, when it comes to the doctor situation, you said and I appreciate your honesty there. You said you left it open on purpose. Uh, what was the spirit behind that, other than trying to get him to see something? But was there any deeper intent on your end,
Um, what do you mean? Say that again.
as far as the intent behind keeping things open? Because on your end, you have to see the doctor every day. You know what
Hmm.
he's probably getting to. I saw you putting a caption saying, "Hey, he probably want to have sex. More than
Hmm.
likely he wants to have sex, but hey, I'm just not going there." And
Right.
this is a better question I want to say here. So you eventually say, "I did not cheat." You emphatically are saying that, which is true physically, but did any
Hmm.
part of you cheat from an emotional standpoint?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I felt at that point I didn't care. And I'm being honest with you. I didn't care because I felt miserable. I felt overwhelmed. I felt um he wasn't grateful for anything. That I lived my life for my husband and my children, and he wasn't grateful for anything, and he cheated so many times, but he didn't cheat in the aspect that I actually caught him until last year. I actually caught him. I mean, in 2023 I actually caught him, but all the other times it was just like the messages and stuff I would catch on his phone, or things that he'll send me when he get mad. He'll send me pictures of naked women, or their private parts and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely was emotionally cheating, but I don't feel like I would have ever did it if he wouldn't have put me in that place. Period.
Okay, well, I appreciate the honesty once again, but I must ask this because I think it's a bigger conversation for the audience, because I have a lot of women that watch this as well, but men that want to understand the women like me, I want to know what makes a woman stay, knowing that she has no interest in staying, meaning that because he's cheating and this, I've caught him in so many different things, I know the relationship is dissolving. Why stay and entertain other men?
Um, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I that was my first time even thinking about talking to someone while I was married. But like I told you, I felt so miserable and he kept effing me over. And I felt like, you know what? Someone is into me, he's giving me attention, I'm going to take it. But I never had any intentions on it going any further, if you understand what I'm saying.
No doubt.
So, but by you saying, why would I stay if, I never had intentions on it going any further. I wanted to show him that somebody else wanted me and that somebody else probably would treat me better, from the text messages that he saw, which were, petty text messages like, oh, how you doing today? Did you get some rest? It was nice seeing you today, or you look beautiful today, stuff like that. And
Right.
I left it open because obviously he had my passcode and stuff he was able to get in my phone. So I knew he would see it. I knew he would see it.
Now you petty. That's the petty right there. No, I was playing. So let me ask this, because you you see all that, you intentionally are putting it out there. Now let's get into that arrest, because the arrest came from the situation coming to a head, the doctor situation coming to a head. So explain what happened and explain what actions that you took.
So once I got upstairs, shit hit the. So I'm sorry for
You can
cursing.
say shit, shit, shit.
Okay.
Damn. Shit. No.
Okay. Shit hit the fan, and I jumped on him. I actually started hitting him because I'm like, I dare you. Like, my parents are downstairs, the kids are in the house, my nephew is in the house, my sister is down there dying, and you want to accuse me of something I'm not even doing, and this is not the time. Even if I was doing it, like, this is not the time. And I snapped. So I went over, I jumped on the bed because he actually called the doctor, and the doctor, and I won't say his name, but he was on the phone, and he's like, "Hello," and my husband's yelling at him, and all I could think in my head is, I gotta go back to work and see this man, and I'm
Right.
like everything. It was just like, so and he kept saying, "Oh, you fighting me over the doctor?" No, I'm not fighting you over the doctor. This don't happen. I'm not fighting you over the doctor. Like, do you know what you're doing right now? So anyway, I ended up calling the police. I actually called the police, but I was the one to end up getting arrested because he had a scratch on his face, which I don't even know how it got there because I don't ever remember scratching him. I used my fist and I was punching him in his face, but
Oh.
who knows? I to this day feel like he scratched his own face and I got arrested for it. And my kids had to watch me get arrested. My mom was devastated. My parents were there, my kids, and it was just like, it was really bad.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's a scary situation. And I don't mean to laugh at it. I'm laughing,
Hmm.
as you tell the story, because it's not funny. It's
Hmm.
definitely uh, horrific. In those moments. But I've been there. You have those rage moments that you just go blank. You don't even know what happened. Because you just can't believe it. You have this fight, and you call the police, which some people may have an opinion about.
Hmm.
Based on we have this stigma, especially in the black community, that black men go to jail so often. And I'll be honest, I talk about a lot, and I'm not saying you have to agree with me here. We talk about police brutality and a lot of different things, but I was curious who called the police on these black men. Typically it is their wife or their woman that calls the police on them, and hoping that they get taken away. And hoping that the police get rough them up a little bit, but then the people who one of the backlash you receive whenever you do talk about black women, they'll tell you, well, we ain't gonna be marching for y'all. When you die by the police, we ain't gonna march for you. I'm like, well, typically the people who call for called on that black man is a black woman. Now, like I said, you don't have to have a response on that, but do you have a response to what I just said?
I do,
Okay.
because I feel like I don't want this. It's not like I live to call the police on my husband. I'm gonna call him my ex from now on. I'm so used to saying my husband.
I hear you.
Um, it's not like I live to call the police on him and I got joy out of it or something. I didn't get joy out of it, and I don't want police pulling up in our neighborhood and our neighbors looking at us like we're ghetto and ratchet. That's the last thing. That's the last thing that I want, Mel.
Right.
But I felt at that, but he's so erratic. He does crazy things. So I can't just say, can we just not deal, can we not deal with this right now? Can we deal with this at a later time? When I talk normal to him, like, it doesn't get anywhere. So, and when it got out of control, and now he going crazy, I done hit him, and I'm in the wrong, really, but I called the police to see if he can be escorted out because my sister was downstairs on hospice, and he wasn't going to leave, and it was just a hostile environment. So that's why I called the cops that time. Majority of the times I call the police is because he put his hands on me.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be put. It's either that or I'm going to get your ass beat. So which one
Oh,
do you want?
I don't mean to laugh, but I just know that world so much. I just, my parents had a toxic relationship, and it was just like, can we just live in peace? It's just the way it is. It's just hope for peace, but ultimately, some people just you can't live in peace together, and I think
Hmm.
it takes a while for us to figure that out sometimes. But
Hmm.
you get arrested, you go to jail, and he figures out a way to make the situation even worse. Tell
Hmm.
us about the restraining order.
So I get arrested that night. Now I'm in jail. I'm crying. I'm like, oh gosh, please. The only thing I can say is like, please don't let my sister die while I'm in here. I want to be by her side. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, calm down. I'm talking to myself now. I started working out. I started doing squats. I started doing push-ups. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, just he's gonna calm down. Now I'm in jail. He's gonna feel sorry. He's gonna calm down. He's gonna know that what he did was wrong. He's gonna come and get me in the morning. We'll figure it out after all of this. After we deal with my sister. No, the next morning, um, they called my name. An officer came to the cell, called my name. I'm thinking I'm about to get out. He was like, "You've been served." I'm like, "What?" You can't go back to your house to order protection. You cannot harass your husband. You can't abuse him. You can't hit him. You can't do anything, right? So I'm just like, oh my gosh, what about my sister? That's the only thing I could think about was my sister. And my dad and my nephew father came and got me, and I got home, and he called the cops on me 10 minutes later. They were about to rearrest me and take me back to jail. And I wasn't going to get out if they would have arrested me because I was already out on my own
Bond.
recognizance. Yeah. So luckily one of the officers was nice, and he went and called his supervisor, and he came back and he said, it's your lucky day because your husband didn't fill the paperwork out right. He never checked off the box that you can't come back to the house.
Mm.
So that's how I was able to stay. But they were about to he told the police he want my parents out, he want my nephew out, he want my sister out, he wanted my nephew father out, he wanted everybody out except for our children. And that would have been devastating for
Wow.
me.
Yeah, for everyone as well. And that's kind of what I want to ask about next.
Hmm.
You say during the fighting you could have somebody jump on them, but I was thinking while they're hearing the story, well, what's your dad and your nephew's dad thinking this whole time? So how was the family process in this?
My mother was really angry. She was trying to process the fact that my sister was passing away. It's just me and my sister. So everyone was really, that was the focus. But it's like we had to kind of focus on this situation too. Nobody is really trying to fight. My nephew father wasn't trying to fight because he actually came to move down here with us. When we told him that my sister was going on hospice, he left Jersey and packed his bags and came down here, and we allowed him to stay in our guest bedroom. So obviously he didn't want to fight my husband.
Right.
My dad is not like that, and my parents are in the mid 70s. So,
Oh, nice.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So everybody's just looking at him like, what is he doing?
Yeah. I hear you on that. And so many people are probably watching this and asking, girl, you were crazy for staying and things of that nature. You saying your parents are in their mid 70s, just a light bulb goes off. Sounds like you were raised in a traditional home. Would that be correct?
Yes.
So, and you said you wanted to model that. Were they encouraging it all during that time for you to work it out, or how was that?
They were they were encouraging us to stay together until that situation happened, and they completely cut him off.
Mm.
Because a lot of other situations happened. My dad, he would always say, You had kids with him, you're married, I gave you away to him, you guys work it out. That was my dad's take on it. He never got in between, never took sides. My mom, after a while, she was just like, punk, I don't think, she called me pumpkin. She said, Pumpkin, I don't think this is going to work. But this was after years of, cops being involved and, my kids are getting older and started seeing things. And she would say she would never tell me to leave him, but she just was like, I don't think this is gonna work. You keep going back, you keep taking him back. I don't think it's gonna work. But when this situation happened with my sister, everyone cut him off.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that just a moment because your parents old school now. In the black community, we went through so much during our time in America. But one thing that got us through each thing was religion and family. We led the nation at one point in wedlock births, and we led the nation in marriage. And we're the exact opposite now. And in particular, I see a lot of people giving up on marriage easily. I'm be honest, 80% of women, not just black families, but 80% of women, 80% of divorces are filed by women, I should say. But what do you say to someone a woman, I should say, that's in this new dynamic and in our new era, that's going through issues, going through trials with their husband, and they're deciding, hey, should I leave? Should I go? They may not have the same endurance that you had. What do you say to someone that's in that process as we speak?
Well, you're definitely right about that. I think I tend to stay longer than I need to stay, than I should stay. But for me, once you're married, you're married. Unless it's um, abuse or adultery. Once you're married, you're married. You got to find a way to work it out. Counseling, prayer, maybe some time apart. You in one bedroom, I'm in another, so we can figure this out. Whatever you got to do, I don't know. I can only speak for myself, but I was willing to stick it out with my husband, definitely, until it got to this point, and that's why it took so much. I talk about a lot of things that he did, but even I stayed through abuse and adultery. I could have been left because those are grounds for a divorce, but it just got worse. The disrespect, it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. And when you hear those little videos on social media talking about narcissism, it's true. It never gets better. It only gets worse.
Yeah.
But if you're not going through that, try to work it out.
So you're still, after everything you've been through, an advocate for marriage.
Absolutely. I love being in love. I love being in love.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So the plan is, after this marriage, at some point, you want to be married again.
Yeah, if it's God's will, if it's written for me, definitely. I hate that I have to even go through this divorce, but it's so damaged. It's so damaged.
Yeah, I heard you on that. And my family members would tell you if they was here, Mel was never gonna get married again. Like literally. After when I signed them papers, I'll tell you a little bit earlier. I was celebrated for a week straight. And I said,
Mm,
I ain't no way in the world I'm ever getting married again. Who would do that? But
hmm.
it just so happened I met the right lady, and the stars aligned, I should say. I want to ask you this because I can just feel them in the atmosphere. Some people in the comment section watching this right now is saying, "Okay, we need to hear her take more ownership. We need to hear her say what she did because, yeah, he did what he did. He a narcissist and he full of crap. We know that, but it's you know it takes two, as we say.
Absolutely.
So, what ownership would you like to take?
So, I became really nasty towards my husband. Even during the earlier times before we got married, because I told you we got married when we was already together for 6.5 years when we got married. So when I found out about, multiple women back in the day, and I I never got over it. I wasn't forgiving him. The more he did, the more, I would just push it in the back of my mind because obviously I wanted to stay with him and I wanted to get married and I didn't want to be with no one else. I wanted to raise our children together. But I wasn't forgiving him for the things that he was doing, even though I would say out of my mouth, I forgive you. But really, I wasn't forgiving him. And it showed because I just became really disrespectful to him. And he would say it to me like, "You're not respecting me. I'm the man in this relationship." And I would be very nasty. I would call him all type of names. I would curse him out. Um, and that was the biggest part I played in on my behalf. That's what I did that he really didn't like.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this, and that's big, to admit that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm enjoying how you process everything and how you explain everything in the story, because even throughout, you have always taken some ownership. I just want to point out one, if you had one in particular tonight. What would you change about that? Like, because it was a hard situation, and somebody will say, "Hey, she's justified in how she responded to him, the nastiness and after everything that he did." So, if that situation were to happen all over again, how would you handle that different
I
as
would
far as your
leave.
response? You
I would
believe?
leave. Yeah. Because just now that I have experienced it and I know what come of it. If you with a cheater and he you done caught him cheating one, two, three, four, 5 times, it's not going to change. It's not, especially if you're sweeping it under the rug. You're not getting through it together and seeing why he did it in the beginning, and what can be changed, and how it can never happen again. We weren't working through it. It was just, yeah, I did it. I'm sorry. You forgive me. Let's move on until the next time, until it happens again and again and again. So no, I would not stay through that. You cheat, I'm out.
You cheat, I'm out. You hear that, fellas? You better be ready. No, I'm just joking. So, you
At
did.
least don't let me catch you.
Yeah, you better hide it well. But so let me say this. Let me ask this. I should say, because we talked about the restraining order. We talked about how he threatened, to get your family out, things of that nature. We talked about that being the last straw for the family. Was that the last straw for you? If not, what more happened after that?
So it gets deeper. I can, I didn't finish my series on my own channel, so I really don't want to talk too much about it. But
What up?
yes, it got deeper. So after that happened, obviously I'm a nurse, so you can't have assault and battery, DV charges, and all of that stuff. You can lose your license, or they can get suspended or whatever. So I filed for divorce. Immediately the next day after all of that happened, and he called the cops on me again, and he got the order of protection on me. I took $7,500 cash, and I went to a lawyer, and I filed for divorce. Um, but as after a few weeks, I'm like, he's not dropping these DV cases. I need to rethink this. So, I know he didn't want a divorce, so I kind of had to talk to him and basically to get him to drop the charges on me, the order of protection and domestic violence charge. We got back together. It got worse because now I'm looking at you sideways. Like my sister's gone. You didn't allow me to grieve her properly. You disrespected her even when she passed. Not even 5 minutes after she took her last breath, he started with me in the house. It was a whole showdown while my sister's dead body was in the living room. My nephew father, him fighting, my mom crying. I don't know. Like I felt like I was about to pass out. I was having heart palpitations. I didn't know what to do. So, um, yeah.
That's super tough. That's super tough. And so you finally pulled that trigger and chose, to go ahead and do the
Yeah.
divorce. I want to ask you this. I think that's something I referred to earlier that I didn't get to. Um, I said in my video that just as a mode of accountability, that I believe you, for a portion of your sister's illness,
Mm.
that you neglected your family. How'd you feel about me saying that, and what is your response to that?
Well, I wasn't mad at you because obviously you don't know the whole story, and no, only one know the whole story is me, him, and God. So, I definitely didn't neglect my family. And that's why it don't bother me. I'm a very strong woman. I put him on a map. I started to build a business that almost hit $1 million, while still working in my career. I held him down. I took care of my children, I took care of my parents, I took care of my nephew, and I took care of my sister while she was dying. So I was multitasking. I may not have given him everything he needed, but really he wasn't deserving of it. And if he was, I would have made sure that he got it. Trust
Hmm.
me.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that. And that was definitely a broad statement for me, just based on what I had heard at that point. And now that I hear further detail, uh, I definitely take that away. Because the situation, like I said, even in the video, it seems like you guys were just hanging on by threads once your sister situation happened. And so definitely just hearing the context, it makes more sense. But let me ask this: so did he ever have a job or ever, support other than the
Hmm.
trucking company? Or
Yeah, so he was working when we was in Jersey or whatever. He had multiple jobs.
gotcha.
And he was doing really well before we left. He was a supervisor at the airport for a company who flew the planes. And it kind of went downhill, like I said, when we moved down here. It's just like he wouldn't work. He didn't want to get on the road. He didn't want to do anything. He would just stay in the house and I would just go out and work. And mind you, I had like a newborn baby. My baby was only 3 months when we moved down here. I
Hmm.
was, like I said, I was sick. I had lupus. I had a flare. I kept catching flares back to back. I was in and out of the hospital. Then I was traveling. I would get out of the hospital and go to work. I wasn't spending any time with my new baby. It was a lot. It was a lot. And when I took him back, and we both, I dropped the divorce. We got back together. He came back home after my sister passing. It was never the same. I didn't look at him the same, but I was trying. I still had in the back of my mind a hope that we could fix it. So we went back to counseling, and then come to find out, we went on vacation for my 40th birthday, and right after that, I caught him in one of our company trucks with a woman,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's just a lot. It's too much to talk about on this one episode.
No, I got you. I got you. And we very well may be coming back because you said you have a guest that may want to, join with us, and that'll be great. We can get more into it before. I mean, then as well. I want to close this out here. Yes, everyone may not be with a narcissist, but everyone may be having issues in their marriage and maybe trying to look over or maybe trying to move past it. What was your overall message that you want to convey to the audience as we close here? How to pursue what's best for you in that marriage? What's your overall message?
Well, I would say first of all for the ladies. Well, you know what? Not that's sexist. I'm just gonna say for both parties, don't lose yourself in your spouse. Know recognize who you are and what you want, but take care of your spouse at the same time. Just don't lose yourself. Don't make your spouse your everything. That is what I did. Everything was about my husband and then my children, and nothing rarely ever was about me. So take care of yourself and whatever problems y'all having, as long as it's not like adultery, like I said, or abuse, try to work it out. Figure it out. If you got to go to counseling, I know a lot of men, mostly men, don't like to go to marriage counseling. But, if that's something you can do, do it. Get in the church, get on those knees, open that Bible, make it work. Make it work.
No doubt about it. Katt, it's been amazing. I know they can find you on TikTok. What's your handle on there?
Well, I do want to get out of this whole divorce thing, but I'm going to get through it first. So
Yes,
I want to
indeed.
finish off my series, and then I'm going to focus on lifestyle, my children, our everyday life, how we live, and maybe I'll start dropping some gems, from my experiences.
No doubt about it. So your TikTok is fit Virgo underscore, correct?
That's correct.
I love it. Is anywhere else they can find you, or just there for now?
Nope, just there.
Love it, love it, and look forward to the book. We'll have it plugged on the page and on my YouTube channel as well. When we receive it, I'll be getting my copy because I want to get all the juice. I want to get all
Absolutely.
the.
Free copy.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love supporting as well. But it's been amazing, Katt. Thank you so much for coming on. Look forward to seeing you on here again. Hope you enjoy your
All
day.
right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mel. Thank you for joining my channel. Thank you for checking things out here. Oftentimes, we go on people pages and are like, man, what is going on here? What is the purpose of this channel? So let me be clear. The purpose of this channel is to speak truth regarding the nuclear family. And when I say truth, I'm not saying my truth, not your truth, but the Lord's truth. All about the word, all about the ways and the will of God. What does he have to say about the nuclear family? And I believe the generations of today, whether it be Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever the case may be, I believe now we have a very toxic relationship regarding marriage, regarding family, regarding having children. We're in a toxic dynamic as we speak. And honestly speaking, a lot of the answers that we're looking for in our community, a lot of the cures and a lot of the answers will come from a proper, fulfilled family home. If you go down the line of everyone's individual trauma, there you will find some negligence or some type of issue that they had with their parents. So here on this channel, we address those things head on. We don't place fear in those issues and avoid the topic. We do what Jesus did. And when he said, don't assume that I came for peace, but I came with a sword. I came to turn family members against family members if it means you following me. If you have to cut them off, if you have to address them and have arguments for you to follow me, so be it. And I think at this point in our society, we're at the so be it stage. So here at Life Coaching by Mel, I'm all about bringing healing to that. And the number one way to do that is have honest conversations. So if that's something you like, that's something you're into, that's something you really want to be a part of, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to comment. Let me know what you think about everything. I do my best to respond as often as I can. I want to hear from you guys. This is not about me. It's about healing our nation, healing our states, healing our cities, healing our community, healing our homes. Love you guys. Take care.
Let's go.